Well, welcome again to Shabbat and our Shabbat meal and Shabbat table talk. I'd like to make a correction from last week. I believe on the recording I said that the meaning of Toldot, which is the name of the Parsha, meant twins. I believe I said that, but it means generations. And the Parsha is taken from Genesis 25th chapter, 19th verse, through 28th chapter, 9th verse. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu le'asok b'divrei Torah. The Torah Parshah and my Torah is divided up into 3 parts. 1, 2, 3. The first part is called the twins, and this is from Genesis 25th chapter, 19th verse through the 34th verse. The next one is called the life of Isaac, and it's in Genesis 26th chapter, verse 1 through 35. And then the next part is called Isaac blesses his sons, from Genesis 27th chapter, verse 1 through 28th chapter, verse 9. And it begins with Ve'ele Toldot Yitzhak ben Avraham. Avraham holid et Yitzhak. Ve'yehi Yitzhak ben 40 shana. Bekakto et Rivka bat Betuel ha'armi mipadan aram ochot leven arami lo leisha. This is the story of Isaac, son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he took to wife Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel the Aramean of Padan Aram, sister of Laban the Aramean.
Psalm 89, starting in verse 15. Blessed is the people that know the joyful sound. They shall walk, O Lord, in the light of thy countenance. In thy name shall they rejoice all the day, and in thy righteousness shall they be exalted. But thou art the glory of their strength, and in thy favor our horn shall be exalted. For the Lord is our defense, and the Holy One of Israel is our King. Then thou spakest in vision to thy holy ones, and said, I have laid help upon one that is mighty. I have exalted one chosen out of the people. I have found David my servant. With my holy oil have I anointed him. With whom my hand shall be established. Mine arm shall be strengthened. The enemies shall not exact upon him, nor the sons of wickedness afflict him. And I will beat down his foes before his face, and plagues before them that hate him. But for my faithful and my mercy shall be with him, and in my name shall his horn be exalted. This is the word of the Lord. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. May your kingdom come. May your will be done. We thank you, Lord God, for bringing us to another Shabbat, another time to remember the great deliverance of God, and another time to rest in you and to proclaim your everlasting love and forgiveness toward us, to proclaim your loving kindness, and to proclaim the greatness of God, who delivers his people and richly blesses them with blessings from on high. On this day, Lord, we rest as free men, and we acknowledge the God who has made us free through the death of Christ on the cross, who paid the debt of sin that we may be free. And you yourself, Lord, delivered the children of Israel out of Egypt, making them free and giving them a commandment to follow, and giving them a charge to keep, to spread, to bring the word of God into a world that is blind, a world that is lost, to make known the mercies of God and his loving kindness and his justice. But on this day, Lord, we rest and we reflect upon that greatness and deliverance. And we give thanks to you and the Son who has made such a thing possible, and the Spirit as well. This we pray in the name of our Christ Jesus. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotze lechem min ha'art. Blessed art thou, Lord our God, King of the universe, who gives us bread from the earth. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Borei pri hagafen. Blessed art thou, Lord our God, King of the universe, who gives us the fruit of the vine. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat. Shalom. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Barry, you had a deep voice going on. You still got a little. Did you always that deep? Barry, it was deep. I heard that.
From
deep.
I think it's from my fix.
From the cold. Well, that's good.
It'll go away.
It'll go away.
Yeah. I won't stay like that.
All right. I think we have a good Parsha. Well, we always have a good Parsha. I'm sorry, I always say that. But it's I think it's the same theme as I always talk about, because there's a lot of eating in this Parsha. And some of it's good and some of it's not good. But we'll discuss it when we go along, but it's a lot of eating. So the first part is called the twins, from Genesis 25th chapter 19th verse to the 34th verse. And John, do you want to read that for us?
Okay. 25th verse.
25th chapter 19th verse to the 34th verse.
Okay. And these are the generation of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban of the Syrian. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him. Rebekah his wife conceived, and the children struggled together within her. And she said, If this be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manners of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called him Esau. And after that, his brother out with his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew up, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plainsman, dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau, because he did eat of his venison, and Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob sowed partridge, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red partridge, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, Sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do me? And Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he swore unto him.
What? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and partridge of lentil, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went out his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright.
You want to start?
Oh, sure. Well, maybe I'll start at the end and work my way backwards. When the birthright, I guess there are 2 components here. For years I've read this word birthright, and I never really delved into what constitutes the birthright, or what is the birthright. I always thought, well, it's the right of the firstborn. Well, what does that mean? Well, the firstborn gets such and such. But I think from this study, it's a little bit deeper than that. So, what the sages will say, I may skip about here, with this birthright generally comes with the firstborn. And how do these guys know about this birthright, or what would be passed on to them? Well, I'm sure they got it from their father. What did it represent? To some, to Esau, it meant something that was physical, which is true. But it wasn't something, he didn't see it as something eternal, because he says, well, once I'm dead and gone, what good is that birthright going to do me? The birthright is only good while I'm alive, and I'm not immortal. I'm going to die. So what good is the birthright? He couldn't. His vision was somewhat short-sighted. he was hungry, and one commentator says, well, I'm sure he couldn't have been that hungry. He had to have had breakfast that day. But Esau wanted something, and when he wanted it, he wanted it now. He was a guy who was impatient. He couldn't wait for stuff. He wanted what he wanted, and he wanted it now. Some commentators, translator says, he said, pour this stuff down, this red stuff down my throat. I can't even wait to eat it. Just pour it down my throat. So Esau was an impatient person. He wanted what he wanted, and he wanted it now, and he was just in the present. Now, the very interesting that started when we started at verse 19, I think, that both Rebecca and Sarah had problems getting pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So both the husband inquired of the Lord, and they became pregnant. A very interesting thing. No, I'll hold that for later. What also happened when Rebecca was pregnant, there was a problem, because there was some struggling in her womb, and she couldn't understand why they were struggling. So she inquired of the Lord. Now, inquired of the Lord, some commentators said, well, she went to some of the priests, and the priests gave her an answer. But it didn't say she prayed and God gave her an answer, but it said she went to inquire. Not like when Isaac entreated the Lord, which is almost like a prayer on behalf of his wife. She went and got an answer, and what they told her, there was 2 nations in her womb. One would be stronger than the other. The older shall serve the younger. In one translation, it said once she knew that, she felt comfort. And the idea, why would she feel comfort knowing she was having twins? Well, the idea, she probably thought she was just having one child, and the child was very
rambunctious.
Well, rambunctious is one, but what they were saying is that if she were to go by a synagogue or house of worship, or a place where they do scripture reading, there would be some struggling in her womb.
Mm-hmm.
And if she went by a place of idolatry, there would be more struggling in her womb. And she was thinking that, well, that one person, they would be, I wrote down the word, I don't want to call it dual personalities, or
schizophrenic.
Schizophrenic. And that's what she thought she was having at first. But then when she went to inquire of the Lord, they said, no, you're having twins. And she said, oh, okay, it's twins. Now I see. And the Bible doesn't record her ever telling her husband what she learned.
Mm-hmm.
But some say, oh, she did tell him, but it's not recorded. So she knows she's having twins. One will serve the other. One will be given towards spiritual things, and one will be given towards physical things. But she didn't know which one until they were born. So it said the boys grew up, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. Now, what some of the commentators say was he was cunning with words. He was basically a person who had, a sweet mouth. He could tell you anything and you would believe it. Mm-hmm. He was basically a con man. He wanted to give the impression that he was spiritual, but he was nowhere near being spiritual. He wanted to convince his father he was spiritual, but he wasn't spiritual. He was just I used the word here, something about mouth. What did I put? No, well, it will cut. I'll find it in a little bit here.
Okay.
But so far, they were married 20 years, and they had a child at about 60 years old when this child was born, or the two children were born. So, when you want to make some comments while I look this up?
Well, the one comment that I wrote, again, with the theme that we talked about, remember we said that the Shabbat meal it's a holy thing. This is not just about sitting down eating food on Shabbat. It's much more than that. The meal sanctifies this day. Here we have Esau selling his birthright for a meal. Remember, there's a pattern in the Bible. What did Adam and Eve do? Well, Eve did. They both did. What did they do when they sinned? When they decided they were going to not do what God said, they ate from the tree. It's a meal. So a meal can either be for something good or for something bad. So this is how important this Shabbat meal is. It's just not us coming together and just like, oh, well, we'll cook a big meal, have a good time. No, it's very important, and I don't know why. And to take God to tell us, He just says to remember the Sabbath, and this is the way you do it with a meal. So somehow this meal is very important. It's very important in what we're doing. So we're calling this a holy day, and we're using the food to sanctify it. Whereas again, this is a bad thing that Esau did, selling his birthright. But what does he do? He eats. After he sells it, after he gives it away, he eats. And so that solidifies, it's almost like a contract, I'm thinking. It solidifies what he did when he ate that meal. So, again, I just see that same theme running through here.
Okay. No, I think I have part of it says he was, when he was cunning, played mouth games, is what the word that they used. He played mouth games with his father. It was just a guy with the words. Now, this meal shows the character of Esau, and I guess also of his brother. I'm sure his mother probably told him the prophecy that God, what she learned from the prophecy of God. So he was geared towards that way. Esau was strictly physical and could care less about the birthright. Now I did get when let me read what I have about the birthright, and that Esau saw it only as something physical, not eternal, and sold it for a meal. What you said, he saw it as something he could get now. The birthright, what it represented, was responsibility in the service of God, God and humanity. Hence, it was living life for a divine purpose. That's what the birthright was to do. Live in service to God and in service to man with God's blessing to bring about justice and righteousness into the world. Basically bringing God into the world, and this was the vehicle. They're setting up for the promise. Essentially, did Esau want this blessing? No. But he didn't want. Well, that's proof because he sold it. He sold it. No? He could care less about it.
Well, as you were talking, again, I see the same theme from Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve had a choice between two meals. They could have eaten a meal from the tree of life, but they chose to eat the tree from the meal of the knowledge of good and evil. Two different meals. And same thing going on, where as and we're going to see later on, Esau could have chosen to eat the meal celebrating his birthright, but instead he eats a meal selling his birthright.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself. Are we talking about Adam and Eve?
I'm saying there's a theme going on from the time of Adam and Eve. There's a theme.
I agree. There's
Same
a
theme.
But on a deeper level, are we talking about Adam and Eve, Esau and Jacob? Or are we talking about something else greater than that?
Well, it's probably something greater, I'm sure. But I'm just saying.
What greatness is?
I'm just saying, there's the same theme. The same theme with, and I'm on a simple level here, with eating and choosing to do something.
Same level.
Yeah.
But we're not only talking about Esau and Jacob and Adam and Eve. It's a picture of ourselves as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. But we're right here right now. I'm just talking about from the time we started in Genesis to right now. I'm not going beyond that. I'm just talking about right now. We're at this point.
But even within ourselves,
yeah,
there's parts of us that are physical and parts that are spiritual.
Yeah. And
the parts of us that say, "Well, we want it now."
Yes.
And some parts say, "No, we should wait." Mm-hmm. Okay.
No, I'm not. Okay, we're going to part 2 and we'll go do the part 2 with the life of Isaac, and then we'll have a break. Genesis 26 chapter 1 through 35 is the life of Isaac. There was a famine in the land, aside from the previous famine that had occurred in the days of Abraham, and Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, in Gerar. And the Lord had appeared to him and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Stay in the land which I point out to you. Reside in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. I will give all these lands to you and to your offspring, fulfilling the oath that I swore to your father Abraham. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars of heaven, and give to your descendants all these lands, so that all the nations of the earth shall bless themselves by your offspring. Inasmuch as Abraham obeyed me and kept my charge, my commandments, my laws, and my teachings." So Isaac stayed in Gerar. When the men of the place asked him about his wife, he said, "She is my sister," for he was afraid to say "my wife," thinking the men of the place might kill me on account of Rebekah, for she is beautiful. When some time had passed, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looking out of the window, saw Isaac fondling his wife Rebekah. Abimelech sent for Isaac and said, "So she is your wife? Why then did you say she is my sister?" Isaac said to him, "Because I thought I might lose my life on account of her." Abimelech said, "What have you done to us? One of the people might have lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us." Abimelech then charged all the people, saying, "Anyone who molests this man or his wife shall be put to death." Isaac sowed in that land and reaped 100-fold the same year. The Lord blessed him, and the man grew richer and richer until he was very wealthy. He acquired flocks and herds and a large household, so the Philistines envied him. And the Philistines stopped up all the wells which his father's servant had dug in the days of his father Abraham, filling them with earth. And Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you have become far too big for us." So Isaac departed from there and encamped in the Wadi of Gerar, where he settled. Isaac dug anew the water wells which had been dug in the days of his father Abraham, and which the Philistines had stopped up after Abraham's death. And he gave them the same names that his father had given them. But when Isaac's servants digging in the wadi found there a well of spring water, the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, "This water is ours." He named that well Esek, because they contended with him. And when they dug another well, they disputed over that one also. So he named it Sitnah. And he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it. So he called it Rehoboth, saying, "Now at last the Lord has granted us ample space to increase in the land." From there he went up to Beersheba. That night the Lord appeared to him and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Fear not, for I am with you, and I will bless you and increase your offspring for the sake of my servant Abraham. So he built an altar there and invoked the Lord by name. Isaac pitched his tent there, and his servants started digging a well. And Abimelech came to him from Gerar with Ahuzzath, his counselor, and Phicol, chief of his troops. Isaac said to them, Why have you come to me, seeing that you have been hostile to me and have driven me away from you? And they said, We now see plainly that the Lord has been with you, and we thought, let there be a sworn treaty between our two parties, between you and us. Let us make a pact with you, that you will not do us harm, just as we have not molested you, but have always dealt kindly with you, and sent you away in peace. From now on be blessed of the Lord. Then he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. Early in the morning they exchanged oaths. Isaac then bade them farewell, and they departed from him in peace. That same day Isaac's servants came and told him about the well they had dug, and said to him, We have found water. He named it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he took to wife Judith, daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Basemath, daughter of Elon the Hittite. And they were a source of bitterness to Isaac and Rebekah. The life of Isaac, again, there's some things that have repeated. The same thing that Abraham did when he was in a strange land. He said that Sarah was his sister. And Isaac does the same thing here.
Kind of, sort of true.
Same theme. But I have a question.
It was kind of, sort of true, isn't it? They were cousins.
Kind of, yeah. Well,
kind
yeah.
of, sort of true.
Yeah, no, he wasn't necessarily lying, but I guess same theme. And, well, I just had a question, but I don't know if it could be asked. They said that Isaac was fondling. They said it was a wordplay. Said he was Yitzhak Mitzhak. And so it was a wordplay. To mean, I guess.
Well, you're probably touching her the way you wouldn't touch a sister.
Well, yeah, I mean, but then I'm saying, where were they? They were out in the open doing this? I don't know. I thought it was interesting. And then we go on, and we find this fight over water. The fight over water and digging wells. And so they ended up with the well at Beersheba, which means, Sheva, I believe, means 7 wells. Beersheba, so a place of 7 wells. And then when Abimelech comes to Isaac, what do they do? This is, again, the same theme. After they, he said, let's make a pact together. Then he made a feast, and they ate and they drank. This is the same theme going. So this must be how they solidify this contract, through this eating and drinking. So this is, we have to rethink this Shabbat meal thing here, and give it the importance that it's due, because obviously by them doing it, it solidifies some kind of contract. And in this case, it was a good one, I guess, because they decided not to be mean to each other. So.
Well, but why did they decide not to be mean to each other?
Because he saw that God was with him.
Yeah. So, and how would he know that?
Because it said it was blessed. It was Isaac was blessed and had a lot of things, and so.
And what was the promise that was made to Abraham about blessing?
Oh, but the people will bless themselves.
Yeah, I will bless them who bless you.
Yeah.
So there must. So part of the mission of bringing God into the world must have been in play with Isaac. Now, admit, Isaac doesn't get a lot of. They don't write a lot about Isaac. What does he take up? God really doesn't talk too much to Isaac. But even with the little information he's getting, he's displaying God's righteousness to the world. And well, that's it. He's displaying God's righteousness to the world. And they're coming to him. Yes. And seeking peace with him. Yes. Because of what God is doing for him
Yes.
and the blessings and
Yes.
blessing him. So, yeah, they're coming to him for his moral judgment.
Yeah.
They see how he's being blessed.
Yeah.
And I guess he got rich awfully quick. And even though they were trying to hold him back,
Right.
it couldn't stop God from
blessing him.
blessing him and making room for him.
Mm-mm. This is again. I mean, how much? Again, this is so important. These themes in terms of this eating and drinking and these covenants that they're making. Do you have anything else to add?
No, not with this one.
Okay.
This one's kind of straightforward.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
Oh, there is one other thing that Esau.
Bread was good.
Hmm?
Bread is good.
Mm-hmm.
Antoine's birthday is tomorrow. He'll be 49.
Oh,
What is
yeah.
it?
Antoine.
Yeah.
Teresa's husband. Okay, while you guys are feasting, I'm going to go ahead and go with the third part. And it's Isaac blesses his sons. And it's from Genesis 27th chapter, verse 1 through 28:9. When Isaac was old, and his eyes were too dim to see, he called his older son Esau and said to him, "My son," he answered, "here am I." And he said, "I am old now, and I do not know how soon I may die. Take your gear, your quiver, and your bow, and go out into the open and hunt me some game. Then prepare a dish for me, such as I like, and bring it to me to eat, so that I may give you my innermost blessing before I die." Rebekah had been listening as Isaac spoke to his son Esau. When Esau had gone out into the open to hunt game to bring home, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "I overheard your father speaking to your brother Esau, saying, 'Bring me some game and prepare a dish for me to eat, that I may bless you with the Lord's approval before I die. Now, my son, listen carefully as I instruct you. Go to the flock and fetch me 2 choice kids, and I will make of them a dish for your father such as he likes. Then take it to your father to eat, in order that he may bless you before he dies.' Jacob answered his mother Rebekah, 'But my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am smooth-skinned. If my father touches me, I shall appear to him as a trickster, and bring upon myself a curse, not a blessing.' But his mother said to him, 'Your curse, my son, be upon me. Just do as I say, and go fetch them for me.' He got them and brought them to his mother. And his mother prepared a dish such as his father liked. Rebekah then took the best clothes of her older son Esau, which were there in the house, and had her younger son Jacob put them on. And she covered his hands, the hairless part of his neck, with the skins of the kids. Then she put in the hands of her son Jacob the dish and the bread that she had prepared. He went to his father and said, 'Father,' and he said, 'Yes, which of my sons are you?' Jacob said to his father, 'I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Pray sit up and eat of my game, that you may give me your innermost blessing.' Isaac said to his son, 'How did you succeed so quickly, my son?' And he said, 'Because the Lord your God granted me good fortune.' Isaac said to Jacob, 'Come closer, that I may feel you, my son, whether you are really my son Esau or not.' So Jacob drew close to his father Isaac, who felt him and wondered, 'The voice is the voice of Jacob, yet the hands are the hands of Esau.' He did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau, and so he blessed him. He asked, 'Are you really my son Esau?' And when he said, I am, he said, serve me and let me eat of my son's game, that I may give you my innermost blessing. So he served him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, come close and kiss me, my son. And he went up and kissed him, and he smelt his clothes, and he blessed him, saying, the smell of my son is like the smell of the fields that the Lord has blessed. May God give you of the dew of heaven and of the fat of the earth, abundance of new grain and wine. Let peoples serve you, and the nations bow to you. Be master over your brothers, and let your mother's sons bow to you. Cursed be they who curse you, blessed they who bless you. No sooner had Jacob left the presence of his father Isaac, after Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, than his brother Esau came back from his hunt. He too prepared a dish and brought it to his father. And he said to his father, let my father sit up and eat of his son's game, so that you may give me your innermost blessing. His father Isaac said to him, who are you? And he said, I'm your son Esau, your firstborn. Isaac was seized with very violent trembling. Who was it then, he demanded, that hunted game and brought it to me? Moreover, I ate of it before you came, and I blessed him. Now he must remain blessed. And when Esau heard his father's words, he burst into wild and bitter sobbing, and said to his father, bless me too, father. But he answered, your brother came with guile and took away your blessing. And Esau said, was he then named Jacob, that he might supplant me these 2 times? First he took away my birthright, and now he has taken away my blessing. And he added, have you not reserved a blessing for me? Isaac answered, said to Esau, but I have made him master over you. I have given him all his brothers. For servants, and sustained him with grain and wine. What then can I still do for you, my son? And Esau said to his father, have you but one blessing, father? Bless me too, father. And Esau wept aloud. And his father Isaac answered, saying to him, see, your abode shall enjoy the fat of the earth, and the dew of heaven above. Yet by your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. But when you grow restive, you shall break his yoke from your neck. Now Esau harbored a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing which his father had given him. And Esau said to himself, let the mourning period of my father come, and I will kill my brother Jacob. When the words of her older son Esau were reported to Rebekah, she sent for her younger son Jacob and said to him, your brother Esau is consoling himself by planning to kill you. Now, my son, listen to me. Flee at once to Haran to my brother Laban. Stay with him a while until your brother's fury subsides, until your brother's anger against you subsides, and he forget what you have done to him. Then I will fetch you from there. Let me not lose you both in one day. Rebekah said to Isaac, I am disgusted with my life because of the Hittite women. If Jacob marries a Hittite woman like these from among the native women, what good will life be to me? So Isaac sent for Jacob and blessed him. He instructed him, saying, you shall not take a wife from among the Canaanite women. Up, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take a wife there from among the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May El Shaddai bless you, make you fertile and numerous, so that you become an assembly of peoples. May he grant the blessing of Abraham to you and your offspring, that you might possess the land where you are sojourning, which God gave to Abraham. Then Isaac sent Jacob off, and he went to Padan Aram to Laban, the son of Bethuel, the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, mother of Jacob and Esau. When Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him off to Padan Aram to take a wife from there, charging him as he blessed him, you shall not take a wife from among the Canaanite women, and that Jacob had obeyed his father and mother and gone to Padan Aram, Esau realized that the Canaanite women displeased his father Isaac. So Esau went to Ishmael and took to wife, in addition to the wives he had, Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, sister of Nebaioth. A lot is going on here. And as the title of this section said, Isaac blesses his son.
Son or sons?
Sons. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my handwriting here. His sons. And this is what I find just awesome here, that even when Isaac thinks that it's Esau, he commands him to prepare a meal first. He said, prepare a meal. Hold on a minute. He said,
Esau.
Huh?
It was Esau when he said prepare a meal.
Oh, it's Esau. Yeah, but okay, it's Esau. Then he says
When
to
it's
him, I'm looking, bring back your game. Prepare a dish for me to eat, that I may bless you with the Lord's approval before I die. Then I'm just gonna go on. I'm not gonna get into detail.
Which was one of two blessings.
Yes, one of two
Because
blessings.
he had one blessing for each son.
Yes, and then after Jacob, and when Rebecca's telling Jacob to do all this stuff to get the lamb, the kid, and put the skin on, and Isaac is saying, Jacob is saying, well, you know, my father's gonna think I'm a trickster, and give me a curse instead of a blessing, and she says, let the curse be on me. And according to this commentary, it says, with the Lord's approval, Rebecca adds this to what Isaac had said in order to convince Jacob that the blessing will have divine sanction, thereby implying that once given it cannot be revoked. Again, according to some, they say Rebecca expected the blessing to have prophetic power. Okay, and then we go on, and we'll get into depth, and I'm just naming some key points here. And then they go on and do this ruse. But then what's interesting, Isaac says a couple of times, he says, who are you? And then he says it's a voice of Jacob, but the hands of Esau. And then he asks him again. So it's two times that Isaac appears to think that maybe this is not Esau after all. I mean, I think that's interesting.
I think his dad knew that one of his sons was deceiving him.
You think so? Okay, I'm just asking. It seems like, because
he kept asking.
Who are you? Who are you? Okay, and so we go on, and then after they prepare the meal and Jacob gets the blessing, then Esau comes in and he's like, oh my goodness, he's upset. Oh, you've given the blessing to him. And then Esau says something interesting. He says, but he answered, your brother came with a guile and took away your blessing. And then Esau says, was he then named Jacob that might supplant me with these two times? First he took away my birthright. I thought that was interesting. I thought he sold it.
Right, he did.
I thought he sold the birthright. He didn't take it from you. So, very interesting. And so they go on, and after the blessings have been given, and the irrevocable one has been given, and then very interesting, Rebecca must have gone to Isaac and said to him, we need to send Jacob off to get a wife from our kinfolk, not from these Canaanite women. And so Isaac so it says Isaac sent for Jacob and blessed him,
right,
and instructed him, saying, you should not take a wife from these Canaanites. So very interesting. And then, like you said before,
they were upset.
Before you get to that, that you said before, I wonder if Isaac ever knew about the what do you call it, blessing or the prophecy that Rebecca received before the twins were born. Did he ever know?
I would think they did talk about it. I would think.
That's interesting. Yeah. Seems like, if he knew that, so there's some dynamics going on here, because if she did indeed tell him, then
Well, one of the commentators said, well, she did have the conversation with him. Because it said, well, Esau didn't merit the blessing because he married a Canaanite woman. He was not spiritual at all. It was all physical. But Isaac didn't want to hear it because what he said was, no. I know my boys. I know what it takes for them to live in this world and to pass things down. It takes a strong person. It takes a physical person. And Esau was strong and physical. Where Jacob was more the one who studied the Bible, so to speak. And that takes a different kind of person. But the person to bring God into this world as a physical person, someone who's got to be strong. And Jacob isn't it. So they said, well, he didn't. He said, no, I don't care what you say. I know my boys, and I know which blessing I'm going to give them. So, and it proves one thing. He didn't know his boys. Because Esau, well, actually, one thing, at first, Isaac loved Esau, and some tend to think that it was reciprocated. But what happened when the blessing went to Jacob? He couldn't wait for the old man to die.
Yeah, because what a thing to say. When my father died, what kind of mess is that?
Said, boy, I hope it comes soon.
Yeah, so, and a time when death was so unusual. They were still close enough to Adam and Eve that people were living for a long time, that maybe not that many people had died, but death was still an anomaly. It wasn't something that was just natural.
Yeah, wasn't.
And to say such a thing, you're right, to say such a thing, when my father dies, I'm going to go kill him.
Yeah.
What kind of mess is that?
Yeah, probably had his brother killed.
Yeah. It's,
Oh well, yeah. He was gonna. Well, once the old man died, he was gonna kill him.
He was gonna kill him.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What a thing to say.
So it all for himself.
Yeah, what a thing to say though.
So much for honoring thy father.
Yeah, honoring your father and wanting to be around to live a long life and everything. He said, "Can't wait till he dies, and I'm gonna kill Jacob."
Yeah. Now, one thing I did. Why did Esau bless both sons? One other thing. Why didn't Why didn't Isaac bless both sons at the same time? Now that would have taken care of it, wouldn't it?
They'd have been equal.
Yeah, at the same time. Wouldn't have been any question whatsoever. In fact,
one would have been higher than the other.
Yeah, because when when Joseph blessed his sons,
yes, he called all of them.
He got them all in the room.
That's an interesting point.
But here, I'm not sure why.
That's very interesting.
He was going to die shortly. He didn't know when he was going to die, but give it to them both at the same time.
But Jacob called all his sons together before he died, and said. But here it clearly says Isaac only called Esau, and he says, "I'm old. I'm ready to die. I'm ready to give you this blessing." Yeah. Very interesting. That's a good point, John. So maybe Isaac was trying to do a little deception himself. And in doing that, he got the seed.
Okay, yeah.
That's what.
Because he wanted it. It doesn't say, but he was trying to give it to the one that he loved the most.
Exactly. Instead of giving it to one who Rebecca probably had told him that, no, they said that the older was going to serve the younger. And maybe he was trying to circumvent that. Yeah. But I guess that's the same as what's going to happen next week when sort of like when Jacob goes to Laban, and Laban, what does he do? He substitutes a bride.
Well, now there is one other thing I guess we didn't mention, because how did Rebecca know that Esau was just playing mouth games? And you just said it, Laban. She grew up there. She knew what the character of a person is. She knew how to spot a phony. Isaac didn't know that. And maybe she tried to school him. He didn't believe. He said, well, maybe she said, well, you're blind. You can't see these things. And, hey, I may be blind, but I can still see. character.
That sounds
Yeah,
like
he might have said something and someone heard it and told them off.
But
I think
but Rachel could spot people playing mind games. Rebecca knew people who played mind games and phonies and stuff like that. And she says he doesn't merit it. Plus, she got the prophecy from God.
Yeah, she did. She got it from God.
Yeah.
And then, true, this still follows a pattern because remember what happened with Sarah? When Sarah threw Hagar out,
right.
And God said to Abraham, what did he say to Abraham? He said, listen to Sarah.
Yeah, listen to your wife.
So this is interesting that these women know something that these men don't know, especially in this situation right here. And maybe I should research it to find out what the sages say about whether Rebecca had a discussion with Isaac about what the Lord told her.
Some say yes. Bible doesn't report it.
And she might have talked to her husband trying to see which one of the kids is going to get what.
Well, you're right about that.
And then she found out that her son was going to get less than the other one.
No, they were both their sons now.
But she thought, well, her son and sister,
twins.
She did well. She doted on Jacob because she knew. Maybe she put her time into who she knew would be the leader. Who God said this is going to be the leader.
She knew the strong one was.
Right. She knew it.
And she know which one would be the C4 one.
Yeah, exactly. Parents study their children to see which type bent they have. Whether this one is, honest, forthright, wholesome guy, or if someone is just
knows how to wheel and deal.
Yeah, wheel and
exactly.
deal.
That's
and
right.
pulling a scam.
That's right.
So she knew it, and maybe that's why she was attracted to it. The dad was attracted to the physical, and that's all it was.
And then, like you said, though, now it makes sense. Esau was trying to scam too, because why didn't he say to his dad, Dad, let me go get Jacob, since you about to give your last will and testament, right? Let me go get Jacob. And because he didn't do that, he got scammed. If he had said, let me go get Jacob.
He would say, oh, I thought you were Jacob.
Well, I'm talking, before all this, both of them would have been there, and there would have been no lie.
Trickery.
Yeah, he could have got it. But Esau was trying to trick Jacob out of his thing too. He'd already given him the birthright, so it was trickery all around. Trickery.
Yeah.
Trying to get what they want.
Exactly. But God got what he wanted.
But it still worked out. Maybe he did say it was trick. But God said it's going to happen this way.
Yes.
And Rebecca said, well, God said it's going to happen this way. I told her husband it's going to happen this way. It happened this way. So, but I guess there were actually 3 blessings going about because he did get one.
Yeah, he got something. He did.
Yeah, so we think of 2 blessings. There was 3. So, but not the blessing he wanted.
Not the, and I'm thinking the blessings too. Again, this is a legal transaction. A legal transaction, meaning the first blessing entitled him to the blessings of Abraham.
No, the second blessing was the one from Abraham.
No, I'm talking about I'm talking about the blessing that Isaac gave to Jacob.
Yeah, it was the blessing of Abraham.
Yeah. Right. It gave it in a sense transferred the deed from Abraham, from Isaac to Jacob. So it's a deed to. I'm talking about Israel now. I'm doing shorthand,
right.
And I'm just specifically talking about the land. And I'm sure it talks about the cattle and everything else. It's basically transferring the deed over to Jacob.
But this is heavy responsibility. What the deed is to bring God into the world. It's not a very light thing.
No, I'm not saying it's light, but I'm just saying this ceremony, this thing that they did, was a legal process to transfer ownership.
Okay.
That's what this is, and it was solidified.
I'm going to do on responsibility.
Responsibility and ownership, because I'm talking about the land specifically too, because the ownership of the land goes to the descendants now of of Jacob.
Jacob, yeah.
So it is a transfer, a legal transfer from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob.
Right.
And responsibility. Don't get me wrong. I know it's a big responsibility, but yes, it's a transfer. So a lot happened here, and a lot involved food. A lot involved food. So again, it's got me rethinking it. And I guess sometimes some things you don't need to know. If God said do it, you do it. We sit here on the Shabbat. We've eaten our meal, and we ask God to bless it as He blessed Jacob. We just ask Him to do that because this is very important. It's maybe something is being transferred to us too by the fact that we sit here and have this meal. That God is saying, okay, you having this meal, I'm transferring something to you. So we can't forget that this just because. Sometimes, the day was kind of overwhelming. Sometimes it gets a little overwhelming because you got to prepare the food, got to do the bread, but I got a new way I do the bread, so that makes it a little easy. But you got to always do that, and it does get overwhelming at some time. And you wonder, why am I fixing this meal? I mean, it's what is it? I mean, does it matter if I fix this meal? And it matters. It matters. As we see here, it mattered because before Isaac did anything, he said, fix me the meal. Fix me the meal. So a lot has been imparted to us. So next week, it gets really interesting. And again, a nation is being built, is what is happening. A nation is being built. Why? In order for God, the Messiah, to come into the world. And the name of the Parsha for next week is Vayetse. And it's from Genesis 28th chapter, 10th verse, through 32nd chapter, 3rd verse. And it says, Vayatse Yaakov me Beersheva ve'yelek harana ve'yifga b'makom ve'yelan sham ki ba hashemesh ve'yakak me'evini hamakom ve'sham mar eshtav ve'yishkav b'makom ha-hu. Jacob left Beersheba, set out for Haran, and he came upon a certain place and stopped there for the night, for the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of that place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place. It's going to be very interesting next week. And we see something truly miraculous going to happen. Any other comments? We had a really good, this is a deep discussion. It really is a deep discussion, and it reminds us that what appears to be little in our sights is very important to God. And we've just got to keep going, keep at it. Just keep at it.
Stuff like this goes on today in society too.
Yes.
All this
Ain't nothing
insightful
changed.
stuff.
Ain't nothing changed. And we got to be able to recognize, like Rebecca did, she recognized who Jacob was, because her brother is the same way. They're going to try and cheat Jacob. But it all works out to God's glory. God wasn't taken by surprise. God's still working out. He says, that's who I wanted in charge. I want Jacob in charge. That's who it is. Okay, we had to get to it a roundabout way, but Jacob's in charge. So any other comments? And my prayer for us is that we remember what's happening here, that we have we have renewed the covenant with God by being here on this Shabbat and by eating this meal. We've again renewed the covenant with Him, and that He continually will bless us as He blessed Jacob, and that He will, my prayer is that He will keep us on the right path, because there's so much that we need to do for Him, and we need to be available, but we need to be on the right path. We need to constantly hear His voice. And so that's my prayer for us this Shabbat. It was really good Shabbat. And so I pray Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Have a good week, Shavua Tov, and we meet here next week with God's help, with Ezrat Hashem.
Shabbat.
Shavua Tov.
Shabbat.
Shavua Tov.
Shabbat.
Mm-hmm. Good.